Right, folks, welcome back to the FFS podcast, where we don't do boring, we do bold. I'm Rachel Chadwick Harrison, accountant by trade, mischief maker by nature, and MD of one of Warwickshire's finest firms, Chadwick Accountants. And joining me today is someone who actually lives in spreadsheets, our very own accountant Julia, who's crunched more hiring budgets than most of us have had hot dinners. Julia, welcome to the chaos.
Thank you, Rach. Pleasure to be here.
Today we're digging into a topic that sounds dry as toast, but is actually the secret sauce of any smart business: budgeting for new hires. Now, we must apologise if there's any background noise today because we are recording in the middle of the summer heat wave. Poor Julia is practically sat in her pants, but we will continue anyways. But hiring, it's not just a warm body in a chair, it's an investment. And like any investment, you need to know your numbers or risk them biting you in the balance sheet. Okay, right, let's get into it. You've decided to hire. Congratulations. But before you pop that Prosecco, let's break down what you're really signing up for. Like salary, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's say you budget £35,000 for a new marketing exec. That's not the full cost, it's the headline number. Julia, why don't you talk us through some of the additional things that you need to budget for?
Okay, yep. So we have employers' national insurance, currently at 15% over the threshold.
Oh, and that's gone up recently. It used to be 13.8%. It was quite a nasty surprise from our Labour government.
Yeah, and we also have the pension contributions, at least 3% if you're auto-enrolling.
Right, and many employers actually pay more than the minimum. So if you're an employee that's paying 5% or more, you need to budget a little extra.
Yes, definitely. We also have holiday pay. Even for that 1 week, they'll spend working remotely from Bali. And lastly, there's software licenses, equipment and onboarding time. The list snowballs.
That's a really good point. Laptops can be expensive depending on what area of business you're in, different kinds of equipment that you'll be needing. I know all our software licenses cost best part of £100 a month with the telephone and all the Microsoft stuff. So yeah, that's a really good point. What you didn't mention, Julia, was all the things you need to do for Gen Z, you know, oat milk, sugars and ethical sourcing, or yeah, you'll be trending on TikTok and not in a good way. The one thing I notice that a lot of employers don't budget for is that productivity ramp up. So here's the kicker. Most new hires take 3 to 6 months to reach full productivity. And I've definitely noticed this here at Chadwick. It's time that your team is training. You might have other staff assisting training them. You know, you've got to cover gaps. And really, you're kind of praying they don't call in sick or quit on you after the first few weeks, because then you've got to start from scratch. But you've got to budget for that lag. It's real and it does hit your cash flow.
So we also have the cultural cost and opportunity. This one's soft, but it stings. The wrong hire doesn't just cost money, they can tank morale. So budget time for interviews, personality fit, and if you're clever, some psychometric testing. I always say, better a week hiring than 6 months regretting.
That's a really good point and mentality to have, Julia. I definitely say when I interview people, you can tell on paper if they can do the job. What you're interviewing for is that cultural fit. Will they fit in with my team? Will they help the morale? Are they going to be received well by clients? That's what I'm thinking of. So it's an excellent point. And actually, I don't think you can underestimate psychometric testing. It's a really good way of seeing if they will fit in and what their strengths are. I mean, I do like to hire, and I do it naturally. I hire people who have strengths that are my weaknesses. I'm not a very organised person, which people find shocking as an accountant. But I hire people who have really high organisational skills. And that's why we're so successful. You should never be afraid to hire, as a CEO, people who have your weaknesses as strengths. One thing I did want to talk about was X. They definitely didn't budget for proper hiring. Do you remember when Elon hit that fire button and then he tried to rehire key staff? It was like musical chairs at billionaires' bonfire. It was a classic case of short-term saving, long-term cost. Now let's talk about the hidden onboarding costs. People forget the admin side, the contracts, the right to work checks, DBS checks if needed. I mean, I've seen clients spend more on compliance for one employee than they do on their Christmas party. It's a cost that you do really need to factor in. So Julia, is there anything else that we have missed?
Yeah, there is one more thing. There's cash flow forecasting. This one's for my finance nerds. Spread those costs. Front loads like recruiter fees or sign-in bonuses need to be mapped alongside with revenue cycles. Don't hire your dream team in Q1 if your cash comes in Q3.
That is a really good point, Julia. And actually, we had a client, let's call him Dave for the sake of this, to protect his identity. Dave had a wonderful meeting with a potential customer. They said verbally, yes, contract went out, contract wasn't signed, but he went out and he hired people for that contract. And then the contract never came to fruition. These were nice people. They were onboarded. But unfortunately, that contract never materialised and Dave had to let them all go. It's a huge, hard lesson for him to have learned, but learn from Dave's mistake. Do not hire people until those contracts are signed. It's so important when you're having that conversation with a potential customer or client, and if you don't have the people to deliver that contract, perhaps you don't want to tell them, yeah, I've got the people to deliver that. That's fine. But what you probably want to say is there's a lead time to start this project. Oh, we have staff and they're out on different projects. There will be a lead time to start. So remember, when you sign your contract, we won't be starting for 6 weeks. Build that time in so that you can recruit into that position. Do not recruit before that client has signed, or you'll end up exactly as Dave did, with 3 sets of salaries and then notice periods paid, and it's just an absolute waste of money. And it's not fair. It's not morally right on those staff who have joined a company expecting a job just to be let go and be back on the job market. They may have left safe jobs. It doesn't sit right with me at all. So Julia, to wrap up, what would you say that you really should be budgeting for when you're hiring new staff?
So 30% on top of base salary for total costs. Budget for turnover, so budget for them leaving, because not everyone's a lifer, and sprinkle in some contingency for tech and HR support.
That's a really good point, and I see it in budgets all the time. When you say to a client, so, replacement turnover of staff, how many do you think will leave? Oh, none of my 40 staff are leaving me. Well, funny that people do. They move on. That's part of the employee cycle, and you do need to budget for some of that. Bottom line, hiring it isn't just a cost, it's actually a strategy. And like any good strategy, it deserves a proper financial plan, a pinch of realism, maybe a little cynicism if you've done this long enough. And if you are budgeting for hires, talk to your accountant. We know things like when to say you can't afford this without crushing your dreams. That's what we do best here at Chadwick Accountants. Right, that's your 10-minute MBA in hiring finances. If this made you laugh and made you think, job done, hit follow, tell a friend, and if you really love it, leave a review so I can show I'm doing something useful with my life. Till next time, keep it cheeky, keep it clever, and for finance's sake, check the numbers.